Welcome to the Attractive Man Podcast, where we help men become better men. In these episodes, you'll discover how to improve your dating and relationships, how to break through your mental limits that are holding you back, and how to move through life with confidence and purpose.
And our special guest today is somebody who has inspired and taught me so much about the beautiful mystery of feminine energy, Zan Perrion, author of The Alabaster Girl, to which I have a copy of right here, and I pretty much bring it with me everywhere in the world, and we'll talk about that.
Thank you, guys. Happy to be here.
Would you be so kind to share with us a little bit of your story on the come up?
I grew up in northern Canada, basically in the forest. My formal education ended at 13 years old. I left home at 13, and I lived in the wilderness, basically, with no electricity, running water, moccasins on my feet, an axe, this kind of thing, right?
Hardcore.
Yeah, and so I didn't really have a high school experience. So I didn't get to learn the social dynamics of who's in, who's cool, who hangs out with these people, who goes to the prom, this kind of stuff, right? So I came out of the forest at 18, 19 years old into the cities of the world. So my education that I had, as it were, to understand the dynamics of men and women was from movies. Yeah. And that romantic comedy movies, it's always the nice guy gets the girl in the end. And so I was the quintessential nice guy. Yeah. And I was ashamed because I came from poverty. And I was ashamed because I had no education. Zero. So everybody else had this education, or they had a nice apartment, or they had a nice car. And I had to scrabble for every minute of it, or every bit of it. And so there's a large part of me that was ashamed of it. So my 20s, I was insecure. My 20s was just a real morass of confusion and tears and suckiness. I was just really needy. And then my 30s, because I said, I'm going to figure this out. If other guys can do it, I'm going to figure it out no matter what. I started to get some ching, 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 aha moments. Wait a minute. I just said this to this girl and she said this back to me, but I've heard that 50 times before. And I think it means something else than the surface, what it looks like. So I started to get these light bulb moments. I started to get some interactions, some understanding. In my 30s, I really started to keep understanding or to grow my understanding. And some guy asked me recently, man, when you're 20s and early 30s, when you were getting rejected constantly and you were all alone, did you ever think of giving up and just say it's not worth it? And it was shocked me. Wait, did I ever think that? No, because I have to figure it out. And so when I turned around 40 is when the internet dating scene took off, the seduction community, quote unquote. And so I was involved in the early conversations there back in the day. Neil Strauss wrote a chapter about me in the book, The Game, way back then. And I had a lot of stuff that I was understanding, and wait a minute, maybe it's this and maybe it's that, which was not instructed down from anybody except for my own experience, right?
Starting from scratch and kind of building as you go.
So from 40 to 50, I hit the road. I quit my corporate job. I hit the road and I said, I have to understand this. And I wrote the book, The Alabaster Girl. It took me 10 years to write, basically from birthday 40 to birthday 50.
That's a
published it on my 50th birthday. Yeah. 10 years, man, it took me to write it. And in that 10 years, as I was writing it, so I was writing, what I had learned, but I was also massaging and articulating and tuning up the message for that 10 years as I'm writing it. But that's kind of my story in a nutshell.
I resonate a lot with your story, even though my story is completely different. So mine is totally at the opposite. I was raised, I live in Switzerland, so it was kind of a good education. Everything was cool, but I was a kid that was left alone by himself for his entire until my 12 years old. I was fat, I was not very social, and I came from a different country, so my origins were different. So I felt exactly the same as you felt in the woods, to be honest. But I gotta say thank you, because guys like you laid the path for my generation. So I'm 24 years old, and thanks to your 10,000 hours put in field, I was able to get out of it much more faster. So I took the route of going in two ways. I thought that because I was not very cool, as you said, I wanted to be cool, so I started to play sports. I started to be a soccer player. But that was so important for me because it was all my status that I did only that. And of course I had studies. So I did those two things, and so I had zero social education. I had zero social interactions because it was school and training and nothing else. And that was how I thought my life would be, if I wanted to be cool. So until I was about the same age, 20, I had very few social interactions. I never went to a club actually before my 22nd birthday. And so you can see that within a couple months, thanks to guys like you and my own mentors, Josiah Price and Duke DeLate, I was able to do exactly what you did for the same reason as you said.
What message do you have to those older guys with the sense of like, it's not too late?
Older guys, like somebody who's like 30 and up, they really understand what I'm trying to say, maybe 35 and up, because they've had their heart broken a couple times. Maybe they've created a business, or they've created some kind of like career path. They've changed that, tried something else. And so they really resonate with the kind of things I'm talking about, because if you have this energetic, mystical way of looking at your life, and you want to create your life as a piece of art, then everybody, men and women, will be drawn into the orbit of that, So the first thing out of my mouth when I talk to a girl, 21-year-old girl, 22, is my age. What am I going to do with you, girl? Hey, if you skirt the issue and she has to ask you, well, wait a minute, how old are you, by the way? Okay. And you make some kind of joke, you failed. You've lost it, you failed. The first thing out of your mouth, because women don't really care your age. They care if you care about it, So if you change that perspective, instead of like, well, I'm too old for this girl, she's 21 years old and she's not going to be interested in me. I promise you that's not true. The older I get, the more younger women are interested, as long as you have this complete ownership of it. You change the perspective, which is a true perspective of, I've seen some things in this world. I've traveled. I've started a business or two. I've been here and there. What can you, 21-year-old girl, offer me? What's something new that you can teach to me? And when you have that spirit, which is a kind spirit, which is a respectful spirit, which is an inviting spirit,
giving, yeah.
Women, 21-year-old girls go, wait a minute, I'll show you, So it's a change. And I promise you, if guys would just embrace their age and say it immediately, the first thing out of my mouth is like, hey, what am I going to do with you? I'm old enough to be your father. Go away. Wait a minute, come here. When you have that spirit, women immediately, it's not a problem for them at all. Yeah. It's like the king going through his kingdom. Imagine that. He walks through his kingdom and he sees this girl he's never seen before. What would a king do? Would he get up his nerve, go talk to her? Yeah. Would he like try and find an excuse to get in? He would say, excuse me, he would part the people and say, listen, I haven't seen you in my kingdom before, and I would like to know you, or I'd like to see you, and who are you? And tell me something about you. You see, there's a kindness in that isn't challenging. I'm not challenging you in any way. So it's the same thing as like, not what can you offer me, instead of that's in your spirit and your heart as you're speaking to her. I've seen some things, you're not really saying this necessarily, but it's from your eyes, from your demeanor, from your spirit. I've seen some things. Who is this young girl, and what can you teach me, my dear? I would love to know. And they can feel that.
It's literally welcoming her in your own adventure. Yeah. Yeah,
it's curiosity over challenging or being
100%.
Because they can feel that. It really affects a woman when you're genuinely curious. And it's impossible to be curious about something and self-conscious about yourself.
I always say that seduction is all in the unspoken. So whether it's when you're talking, what is in between the lines, what you imply, what is assumed, what is, all these looks, just the gesture, just the movement. It's very similar to how girls actually seduce. I think when you get to the same level as they do, which is a lot of this feminine energy, when you're very fluent and fluid, then magic starts to happen.
Yeah, it's like, like any great musician. I read the autobiography of Keith Richards, and you look at Chopin, and these different composers of that, they all had the same feeling, which is what makes the music really come alive is the tension and the spaces between the notes. And when you have that tension in a conversation with women, it's fantastic. So it's like sitting in tension, like you said, keeping that spaces and the energy in between the notes. Incredible.
It's a dance. The first book I read on this topic was The Art of Seduction. And such a long book, but I could not put it down, all these stories. And it's a little similar to your book in terms of like the stories that it tells, and you pick up that feeling. And then I went right into the pickup stuff because I was so new and I didn't really know too much. And I mean, I was getting results with that, but it wasn't really until I started learning more of the seduction, more of the energy, more of the dance, that it really became satisfying beyond a one-night stand. That the sex, that finishing of the tension was so much deeper and literally spiritual. It really awoken me to the beauty of life, of just even walking down the street and knowing I don't have to approach every single woman I see just because she's beautiful. I can have enjoyment just really appreciating her beauty, which puts you in such a high vibration. It puts you in such a deep gratitude and happiness for life, because woman, is God's greatest gift to man.
That's right.
And it makes you believe in good.
Like I asked you. But what you learn over the years is plain speaking is the most incredible thing you can do. Just to speak it plain and say, you know what, I don't know you, and I just met you, and I would like to see you again. I like you, and I don't know why I like you, but I would like to explore that, That's fantastic. That's got wheels. And so it's like, we set out, you can become this manipulator by learning, quote unquote, how to talk and how to wheel and this kind of stuff. Or you can become, get a bunch of money in a yacht and a Ferrari, and women in bikinis will glom onto you, But at the end of it, even those guys, and I've coached guys like this who are saying, well, I'm in the club here in New York City, and I've got the Cristal bottles holding up in the air like this, and the girls come to my table and they're all around, and when the lights come on, the girls dissipate and it's gone, and I go back to my penthouse alone. And so you think, what is the measure of a man? What's the point of it? If you're not adored, if you don't have devotion, we can get girls, we can get the bikini girls around us, right? By different things. We can get laid, but if you don't have that real kind devotion that cares about you and really, really wants you to succeed, wants to inspire you, then that's what we're hungry for, and that's what we're missing, and that's, and then what's the point? You imagine this, in all of history, in all the cultures of all of history, the men have been doing their battles, building bridges, doing all this kind of stuff, and the women are trying to get their attention.
Yeah.
And now we're trying to get the women's attention on Tinder. Yeah. What can I do to get her? We're trying to get the attention of the girls, which is completely opposite of what it's ever been. And we're trying to supplicate and do all that kind of stuff to get their attention on us. In all of history, it's been the other way around. The women are like, don't forget us when you go, please come back to me, and it's like, and now the roles have changed, and we're this like sucky supplicant that's like crawling on her knees, doing everything we can just to get noticed. On Tinder, in real life, it's like they're the ones that bat you away, and it's like something's upside down, and we can feel it in our hearts. It's like, wait a minute.
Thanks, man. Yeah. I appreciate you being on the show.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here, guys, and good work.
If you're inspired by this, if you want to really learn how to be in the energy and the vibration of beauty and gratitude and appreciate women and really connect and open yourself up, me and David are doing this incredible inner transformation program that not only helps you transform your beliefs with women, but with every area of your life, and helps you lift off those emotions of fear and anxiety and insecurity, so that you can be fully alive, fully self-expressed, and fully curious about the beautiful woman standing in front of you. The program's called Unshakable, and if it inspired you, we have a link in the description below to book a call with my elite team of coaches to see if you're ready for this, to see if you're a good fit, because we've got the ways that you can absolutely learn to open your heart to life, and especially those beautiful women you've always dreamed of. So thanks for watching this segment of the Attractive Man podcast with our special guest, Zan Perrion, and we will see you on the next one.